Nice. All right, I'm going to introduce you again.
Ready? Ready.
Antti Ervasti, lecturer, writer, and psychotherapist.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yes.
So I wanted to use this chat as a way of maybe sharing some insight, showing people that they're not the only ones feeling the way they're feeling, especially about exercise and fitness and depression and anxiety. So you're a psychotherapist. Tell me a little bit about who you help and how you do it.
Well, I work mostly with couples and families. I'm a trained couples and family psychotherapist, so most of my clients, I consider like their relationships are my clients. I try to help their relationships to become better, more functioning. And I also have some individual clients, but mostly couples therapy or open relationships, polyamorous relationships, very diverse group of people. So basically anybody can come to my office.
So it's not just couples, you also help individuals?
I do, yeah, with various issues. And my expertise is also sexuality, like sexological issues. So that's one client group.
Okay. And so how do you help these people? Do you just talk with them? Do you do role plays, writing exercises? What's kind of the methods that you would use to treat these people?
Well, various methods. Talking therapy, of course, and in couples therapy I'm more specialized in emotionally focused couples therapy, so I use those methods. And then I'm also trained in sensomotor psychotherapy, which is more like you concentrate on the body, the bodily reactions, the physical, how the feelings and emotions, what kind of reactions they evoke in your body. So I also use that. So talking therapy, then some kind of physical bodily exercises. Of course, some role plays, writing, but also more like techniques.
So I think this is kind of an interesting thing, is that people will have they'll have an emotional problem, a feeling problem, and they'll try to talk their way out of it, or they'll try to rationalize their way out of it.
Exactly.
So tell me a little bit more about the feeling or the sensory motor side of things. Like what do you get them to do? Like what do they have to do?
I think, to put it really kind of describe it in a nutshell, is kind of like encourage a person to be more aware what their body is trying to tell them. Because very often, like our difficult life experiences, our traumas, traumatic experiences, and other issues, they are in our body. They are not only in the head. They don't exist in the headspace only. But our body also gives a lot of signals. It can be pain, it can be stiffness, it can be various physical sensations, and very rarely we pay attention to them automatically. So I basically I try to encourage them to become more aware of their body, which can be very difficult and scary thing for person for various reasons. But that's basically it. And then also like through this certain kind of physical exercising and physical kind of sensations, a person can get some kind of more profound understanding about the issue that they are facing.
So people will, like you said, sometimes they want to kind of run away from the feelings, not pay attention to it, and so there's things to be learned there to actually to be with it, to sit with it, and pay more attention to it rather than pushing it away. That's kind of generally more helpful thing to do, would you say?
It is very often, and of course all kinds of therapy, when it's done professionally, is useful, but a combination of talk therapy and this kind of some body-oriented therapy methods, as a combination, at least for me, they work. And that's really good, the way you said, like, sit with it. That's something that I encourage my clients to do, and I say this kind of message maybe in different wordings, but a similar message that, okay, let's just sit with it.
Like, what do you feel? What exactly is going on?
How are you feeling in your body? What are your sensations now? What are you feeling now? Let's just sit with it. Let's just breathe. So it's like basically like sitting down
Yeah.
to kind of be in contact with our feelings. That's something that I don't think many people do enough.
It can be hard. Like you're in the middle of, like I can imagine you're sitting down with someone and they're feeling extreme anxiety. Like maybe you're talking about something that's really intense, or they could be out somewhere doing something and feeling incredible anxiety, and that's like kind of we look at that in a negative way. That doesn't feel good at all.
No.
And then you have to kind of look at it more and be with it. That's like that's so much harder to do than just kind of open a beer or start scrolling social media, like avoiding it.
Exactly, and that's why like mindfulness is very, very useful. And personally, mindfulness has always been very challenging and difficult for me. And I'm just learning, trying to take the baby steps with that. But basically, anything that's mindfully done, it's useful for us. We can peel potatoes mindfully.
Sure.
We can wash dishes mindfully. We can walk. But whenever we increase the mindfulness, that's always good for us. But it's not easy at all. It can be very scary, because once we sit down and really try to become centered with our feelings, we probably have to face something that we've been hiding away. We've been trying to rationalize. We've been trying to hide by working too much, or exercising too much, or eating junk food too much, or having sex too much, or there are a lot of ways to distract ourselves from facing ourselves.
Yeah. So one thing that I want to bring up is about how it seems to me that there's more anxiety and depression. I mean, it doesn't just seem, I know that statistics are out. We're seeing more anxiety, more depression, particularly young people.
Yeah.
What do you think is the cause behind this? You don't have to be right, but what do you feel is going on?
Well, I also agree with your statement. There is sort of a lot more anxiety, and also I think that's because people are talking more openly about anxiety or depression or any other issues. Of course, nobody has to share their private matters. Like mental health is private matter. It's health information, so nobody needs to share. But I'm happy that some people are sharing what they can, because
people are talking more.
People talk more openly, so that's why all these kind of mental health problems are coming to the surface more.
Yeah, they're talked about more.
They're talked about more, but also I think the anxiety and burnout and etc. It's increasing a lot, because the working life, the student life, lifestyle is becoming more hectic. A lot more is demanded of us nowadays.
We're always on, we're always reacting to something.
Exactly.
We're constantly exposed to advertising, expectations. Someone's messaging us, trying to get us somewhere, or we have to reply. The workplace environment is so fast because everything's so efficient and everyone gets everything now.
Yeah.
I can see why that causes, like, just it makes you almost anxious thinking about all the things you have to do in one day.
Exactly.
But it's all coming at you now.
Yeah, and we have to. There seems to be this kind of ethos that we need to improve ourselves constantly. We have to be better versions and the best version of ourselves, like every day. And what's the limit? I do understand the point of like trying to better ourselves, like to be. That's my motto also. I try to do my best every day. So at the end of the day, I can look in the mirror and say that okay, I did my best. But that doesn't really mean, or shouldn't mean, in my opinion, that we always try to increase something. We perform more in exercising or work life or physical appearance or whatever, because that's impossible burden. So I think people are really getting tired because of a lot of expected of that.
Yeah.
You always have to being mindful and eating clean and going to the gym and
there's so much to do.
I have an aura ring, but measuring your sleep and so and when done in moderation, that's a good. It's good. It's beneficial, but it can also be taken to the extremes, obsessive. Yeah.
And so you like you said, you can be doing your best, and in a way that's a really good way to do things. But then you open social media and you'll see millions of people who are doing way better than you.
Exactly.
And now what you just thought was good for you, it just pales in comparison to what you see.
Exactly.
There's like comparison is the thief of joy. Like that takes away. That's so much, I think, for young people a source of so many people's anxiety. It's just the fact, like we said, there's too much going on, we're too reactive, but also we're seeing everyone else's highlights.
Exactly.
We're seeing everyone else's best.
Yeah.
Right? We don't see them sucking. We don't see them being anxious and depressed on the couch at home. We just see people kicking ass.
Yeah, and it's not only for young people, it's also for, I feel that too, like when in the social media, if I'm not really kind of aware of what kind of content I'm using, or if I'm tired, or if I have some feeling of inadequacy and I go to social media, that's a slippery road, because you know, there's always somebody to compare with. Whether it's professionally, there might be some colleagues who are like more active in the social media. I'm like, okay, I don't do anything, they are always succeeding.
True.
Or it might be fitness people that, okay, I go to gym 4 times a week, but these people must go like 8 times a week, or at least they get better results. So it's like kind of...
being active on social media makes it look like people are doing well.
But that's not the reality.
Just if you're there, it looks like they're working so hard. But I mean, they're just the ones who are choosing to put it out there, really.
Exactly. And then not anybody really understands, not all of us, we don't understand always that it's curated. Like the content that they make in the social media, it's kind of like you said, it's the highlight. It's not the... They don't post when they are like feeling depressed, or they are feeling anxious, or they have bills to pay and they don't know where to get the money. They don't post these kind of moments. It's only the highlights.
Yeah. So that explains... One second, let me check this. Are we still going? How are we doing? Are we still filming? Oh, we are. Oh, look at that. Isn't the Mac much better? We'll cut that out then. So that explains I think that explains the anxiety side of things. Like people are comparing. I think that creates a lot of anxiety. Do you think that also explains the depression side of things? I see it kind of as a spectrum a little bit. Anxiety being like too much, too on, and then depression kind of being maybe a lack of motivation or a lack of meaning. What do you think is explaining the depression side of things?
And very often anxiety and depression, they go hand in hand. A person might have had depression, and then they do, like a kind of anxiety becomes more prominent, or vice versa. So I think they're connected. Yeah,
they're interconnected. And rarely you meet someone who's just got kind of one mental ailment. Like
No.
They're just depressed.
Everybody has, like, you know, it's very important when we use words like depression and anxiety, and it's in a way diagnostic language.
Sure.
And of course we need diagnosis to get the proper treatment. But when we talk, and that's the good thing, that people talk more about mental health, but depression and anxiety and narcissism and all these kind of terms are being used in the media a lot. So they're a bit like, I think people need to be very careful or very conscious when they use this, because everybody can become depressed
it kind of
without having a clinical depression.
Sure.
Everybody feels anxiety at some point. I have felt anxiety. I still feel anxiety. But I don't feel like I have anxiety disorder.
Yeah, you don't have the generalized anxiety disorder.
Yeah. So we all have mental health. We all have physical health. Of course, now we need to kind of exclude like more serious mental health disorders like schizophrenia and all these. So those just don't pop up.
Sure.
But, for example, depression or becoming burned out in your work or becoming anxious. That's part of. I think that's part of.
It's just life, isn't it? It just
for all
happens.
of us in a way, but of course if it becomes more prominent, then
chronic,
long-term, or it starts affecting your quality of life more, then a person needs to, or I would recommend that they will talk to somebody about it.
What do you think? So let's say people are hearing this and they identify, they say, well, I do feel depressed, I do feel anxious like all the time, it's very chronic, and they're starting to notice that there's something wrong. What do you think they should do?
Well, I would recommend just kind of take stock of their lives, kind of really stop, put on the brakes, stop and kind of make an inventory that what's good in their life, what's going not so good, and if they, like for example, if they have depression or anxiety, I would recommend that they would seek out professional help. At least go once or twice to talk to somebody to assess the situation, because if it's depression or generalized anxiety, a lot can be done. So there are ways. It's not a life sentence.
Yeah.
Once if if a person has been depressed once, it doesn't mean that they have to be depressed throughout their lives. There are ways to alleviate the symptoms. Of course, some people might have chronic depression, but they can also learn ways to kind of cope with it better.
Sure,
so there's always hope. So
It's
just seek out help. Talk to somebody. Talk to your friend. Talk to your partner. Talk to any person that you trust. Don't be alone. I think that would be my. That's
what I hear a lot. That sounds to me like that's at this moment that's kind of what we should be doing. But what do you think? Because I know for some people, even for myself, like if I'm not feeling good, I don't really want to tell anyone about it. It's just I don't know. It sucks to hear myself saying it. You know, it almost hurts when you say it to someone else. How do you feel about just writing as a first step?
Very
like
good.
If it's hard to talk, how do you feel about writing?
Writing is very good. Not only like coming out with your issues and problems, but also in like everyday life. I think we also write down more. Keep some kind of journal, even if it's like 10-15 minutes a day. Like things that are causing us to be fearful or anxious or what we are stressed about, what are our worst fears, but also like write down things that we are grateful for. And that can be very difficult for somebody, like for example if a person has more severe like depression or depressed mood. It's not easy at all to find a positive outlook on life. And that's not, that can feel like a pressure. Because the worst thing you can say to a depressed person is to get over it and think positive. Even if the intention would be good behind this, but those and those are really, it can be really disrespectful and like feel really bad.
People want to help, and they think that if I tell them to keep a gratitude journal. That's going to help, and they feel like all you got to do is think positive, and you'll train your mind to think that. But it can be really hard, especially if you're depressed. You're hearing other people saying, I keep a gratitude journal and now I'm happy, and it's just write 3 things. It's easy, but like it can be really hard.
It can be really hard
to find 3 things.
It can be, but again, like with everything, I would recommend a person to just start with something. Write down 5 minutes. Write down only like keywords, or scribble down some stick figures. Or whatever. Drawing is also can be very therapeutic. You don't have to have any artistic skills to be draw. We can draw mandalas. We can draw really abstract figures. That's also that can be one form of being mindful. Like just
being present,
writing or repeating certain pattern, and just being present with yourself and.
Have you noticed those colouring books? How that's kind of become a thing. What do you think of the colouring book?
I like them. I have one at home, and I have several at the office, like these colouring books for adults.
It sounds so funny, doesn't it?
They are really useful, and they are really good way of really focusing. You can do it like 5 minutes during our break. I do it sometimes. It's just really because you have to be so. You have to use your fine motor skills. So it really forces you to be mindful when you color the really small pattern, really detailed. So it's a really good way of kind of being mindfully more present. And focusing on something else. For example, an anxious person is very often with their anxiety. It's like a loop. So they need these kind of tools to kind of help them to focus on something else.
That makes sense to me now.
Whatever works. Of course, not everything is good, like alcohol, substance abuse, those are not recommended, but these kind of like mindfulness techniques and coloring books or writing down or listening to music or playing an instrument or even if you can't really play, just fiddling with piano or something.
I guess the
those
point
are
is
really healing.
Something that consumes your attention.
Exactly, that's
like
what I'm
it needs to be meaningful consuming. I guess some people might watch TV and they think, or they might watch. People will use coping strategies like Netflix, and they think they're distracting themselves, they're getting away. But really, how much effort does it take to watch? Like your mind can be just as active, maybe if not worse, if you're watching TV.
It is.
Compared to actually like doing something like writing or colouring or whatever it is.
Exactly. A lot of times, if you have anxiety or stress or other kind of mental health issues, like just lying down on the bed, just being inactive can make it worse. And now I'm not talking about being kind of meditative or kind of just resting, but a person can also become like
tense,
in a way hypo, aroused, tense and kind of really. That's not good. So activity is very often needed.
Yeah.
Like maybe instead of like lying down on a bed when you feel anxious, maybe a person should try walking around the block. Or walking around the block a few times, or trying to get like 5,000 steps per day.
So physical activity.
Physical activity is very important, and done in like properly, correctly, and in a healthy way. Physical activity, like movement, is medicine for the mind and body.
Yeah. So we got, okay, let's just bring it back. So if you're anxious, depressed, it's chronic, it's been going on for a long time, talking to someone helps. If you haven't quite got the courage to talk about it, writing can be a first step, rehearsing your thoughts, putting it out there and looking at it, being with it, distracting yourself from chronic overthinking, right? If you're ruminating, then doing something meaningful where you have to concentrate and be present. And then you just started to bring up about being physically active.
Physically active, yeah, that's very often a person who's depressed or anxious, they might not pay enough attention to their well-being, like physical and mental well-being. Some people have never been physically active. They don't have any kind of real understanding what their body can do, or kind of, as like I said earlier, like asking a question that how do you feel in your body? It can be very overwhelming, and also very scary if a person's never done it, or if there are some kind of traumas behind it. So as a therapist, you have to be very kind of careful of what kind of questions you pose. But in general, like physical activity, it improves our physical health. There are all the feel-good hormones that are activated, but also it's very important mentally. So I would really hope that, like for example, all of my clients, that they would find some favorite way of exercising. Whatever it is, it doesn't have to be like regular gym going or really this hardcore fitness lifestyle. No, that's not what I'm talking about. But something that's more active.
Yeah. So there's not just the physical benefits of your body getting better, that also translates into the mind. When the body is healthier, the mind thinks healthier thoughts.
And the more healthy, more balanced your mind is, better you feel in your body, because we are holistic. Body mind is connected. We can't separate them.
That's
whatever happens in our body affects our mind and vice versa. So I really would hope that we would also have this dialogue more, where we talk about a person.
You can't separate the two anymore.
No, at all.
It's not the case. I think maybe it used to be thought of, I think, in the past, but I think there's more and more evidence now, and it really isn't the case. If your mind is unhealthy, eventually your body will become, and vice versa. So we know that, I think everyone listening to this would know, of course, it will help. People with depression, anxiety, I think they're often kind of told, again, like the gratitude journal, just go for a run. It makes you feel better. There's that toxic positivity side of things again, right? And they don't realize that it can be really hard.
It can be, and it is hard. It's hard for anybody. Like, for example, I'm a good example of that. I haven't been physically active in my life. Like when I was a child or when I was a youngster, I was really inactive. Like all these video games and comfort food and movies and very kind of rich internal world, which is good. It's a resource. It was a resource then, it's a resource now, but I wasn't really active at all, so I've really found the joy of exercising, training, like during the past couple of years. So it has been really life-changing for me. So it's like really...
So it's helped a lot.
It's helped a lot.
And we know that it does. And what would your... So we've got people listening and they want to get started, but they feel like it's difficult. What do you think, what would you say to someone? What's a good way to get started? How can you get started?
Well, I think the key message would be like, start with something. Start with, take the few steps, take the small steps, baby steps. If you have resources, hire a coach. If you know a person, one of your friends is going to gym or like exercises regularly in some form, like swimming or whatever, go to ask him or her to kind of join you
to the gym,
or can you join them in the gym or whatever. So just start with something.
It's like if going to the gym is already hard and terrifying for you, how do you think you can do it completely alone? You know, like it's probably a lot better to utilize, especially if someone's already confident in the gym. If you know a friend and they know their way around, like that would be so much better to have a bit of pressure, someone to come with you if you're feeling anxious. You got someone to take you in, and they can show you around, so you don't have to be the one who's wandering around trying to figure things out.
Exactly. Go to a group exercise class. So.
Yeah. Go ahead, take it.
Oh no.
You see, we're always on. Life is constantly coming at us.
Life is constantly on.
See, no wonder everyone's anxious.
Yeah.
Because the phones are always going on. Yeah, so
start with something.
Start with something. Go with somebody. Also, what I've noticed, this is one reason why when people hire me, it works, it gets them moving, is because you've made the time with someone else. I'll see you 6:30 tomorrow night. You now feel you have a social contract that you have to oblige to.
Exactly.
Right? It's gonna, like, if you went to the gym and you knew that no one else knew you were planning on going, it's so easy to quit. You know, no one's gonna find out if I just stay in bed today. But if you organize with someone who knows what they're doing and who can show you around, that tomorrow you go and that you do not cancel because you don't want to make an ass of yourself. Exactly. That can be helpful pressure as well.
Exactly, and accountability is very important.
Yeah.
And you have a coach, of course we are all accountable to ourselves, but we have, for example, having a coach that you send pictures of what you've been eating that day, or you send your steps, or you have your weekly reports. So that keeps you accountable. If
no one's checking in on what you're doing, you can just sit back. You know, there is no failure if you don't even start. You know, if you don't show someone what you're doing, then there's no pressure to actually do it. Exactly. And if you've been ignoring your body already for 5, 10, maybe your whole life, it's normal to just continuously sit back.
And it's so easy to fall back to the old patterns of eating, of not being active, or a lot of times, like for example, I've tried various forms of exercise like boxing and aqua jogging and swimming and aerobics and wall climbing. I've tried almost every kind of exercise in my life, but I've never been able to kind of stick with, like being systematic.
Why is that?
That's a big problem for many people, that they try something, but then when they understand that it requires long-term commitment, and it's basically doing a lot of times it's boring,
doing the
same
work.
Stuff, the groundwork, day after day, and you don't get massive biceps in 2 weeks, and you don't get this ripped physique like in 6 months.
That can deter people.
It can deter people. So that's why it's really important that you have maybe a friend or coach, or you create this internal accountability system, but you have something that you're committed, like you said, this kind of psychological agreement. That's really important, and we can do it with ourselves also. It doesn't have to be with somebody else, but we can also kind of commit to ourselves that now I'm gonna start taking better care of myself. I'm gonna start valuing myself more.
How do you do that? Because I can make a commitment to myself. I can just think about it, but how do you make it more real? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, how do you make the commitment to yourself? Do you have to write it down? Do you have to put it in a calendar or something? Like, I'm of the opinion that if you don't quite express it outwardly, it just stays in their head, and it's really easy to just let go of, right? Like, if you have an idea, you can forget it. So if you want to make a promise to yourself, how would you do that?
Like you said, put it in your calendar, decide which days you are going to take more brisk walk outside, put that in your calendar, or if you want to exercise, go to gym, or put it in your calendar.
Make it concrete.
Make it concrete, and make it so that you commit to it. That you don't just put it there and then erase it or change it to another day. Commit to it. But that's where a lot of people do that already, but then they still need some extra.
Maybe their own discipline, or their, the thoughts in their head maybe it's just not enough that's going to push them. That's when you need someone. Like, if you know you're lazy, then you probably need, definitely, like if you've in the past quit things on your own, it's a really good sign that you probably need someone to be there for you.
Exactly, and of course not everybody won't, or they can't hire, for example, a coach, or they don't know any friends who are going to the gym, or then
becomes quite difficult.
It can be difficult, but then just for example, if you have a local gym, just go see how it looks there. Just go there and feel the atmosphere and see how it looks, because very often that also helps when you just, when you use your senses to kind of explore the surroundings.
Yeah.
So it can be really small things that the person needs to change.
What were you afraid of? Because you've been training now for a couple of years, consistently now for like about a year. What were you afraid of when you first started? So I know a lot of people are afraid of the gyms. What was going through your mind when you first went in and sort of started doing this?
I was very anxious about the surroundings, because I've been to the gym before, but I've never frequented in the gym like on a regular basis. So the whole environment with the weights and the grunting and exercising people, it was really kind of taunting, like, I'm going to be bullied, or I'm going to be shamed, or I'm the most choppy one, or I'm the one who will hit his head with the dumbbell. Or I had all this kind of like, it would go really bad.
Right.
But from the first day I felt like, okay, nothing bad happened.
Right.
I can survive this environment, and then that transformed into like, this is actually I'm getting more familiar with the place. And now I feel like that's the environment that I feel really comfortable, and that's the arena where I can really push myself to the limits in a way that I didn't do before.
Yeah. So you were afraid. You felt left out because you saw and you heard all these people who everyone knows what they're doing, and everyone's lifting weight, and everyone's being really aggressive, and you felt completely left out.
Exactly. I felt like, or I had this nightmare scenario in my head that I will be the only one who can't do it. But then when I went there, and when I still go, I see the people who are like, they are beginners, there are people who might be in the gym for the first time, and there are people who are always there, like me, and everybody in between. So and the most important, everybody's focusing on their own. They are focusing on their own training. They are not there to look at other people, at least not in a negative way. Yeah. But I think everybody has some kind of stereotypical thinking about gyms or swimming pools or whatever the surrounding is. So my advice is to just try to acknowledge your stereotypical thinking, acknowledge your fears and anxiety, but still do it. Go there, give it a chance. If it doesn't work, if you go there for like a few weeks, few months, and it doesn't work out, then you can choose another gym or another way of exercising, but give it a chance. Yeah, and to just, I've heard this a lot, people have these thoughts, and they know that they're not, like, okay, I'm overthinking it, this probably isn't going to happen. So, like, and you were in the same way, like, you had these thoughts, and you had these fears. So what helped? Like, what actually got you to the point now where you're comfortable? What got you there? Well, I was amazed. I was able to find like really amazing coaches, like Leo, and also you've been coaching me sometimes. So it's like, I was lucky enough to be able to get a coach. Yeah. Where I had like a support system, and then I had friends. I had a partner who supported and supports me in this kind of journey. So it's really important. That was. If I would be doing this on my own, I think I would have given up like 100 times already. Okay. So the main point was that you had someone else that really was, like, they really wanted you to do well. Exactly. Like, you knew that they really wanted you to do well. They weren't pushing you to make you feel bad. Like, you knew that he was there to help you. Exactly. And even if I might want to like go faster or start lifting heavier weights because I just felt like I need it. It's good to have like professional knowledge that it's not healthy for you, and you might get injuries, and patience, and you have to be able to commit on a long-term basis. Because probably if I would have been training on my own, I would have become too impatient and probably had some injuries or something. But when you have a coach, so it's their job to kind of program your exercising so it's healthy. Yeah, still challenging but healthy. Moving slowly. And as a mental health professional, I always trust professionals. I have an accountant, I have a coach, I have... True. That's why professional services are there. So they are trained people. They know how to do it. They have the knowledge, they know how to do it. So I won't I won't play a coach.
Yeah.
Myself.
Why am I doing my own taxes when I can get an accountant to do it? Why am I doing my own program? I don't know how this works.
Exactly.
I can hurt myself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or if I need to see a doctor, I won't, or if I have a medical problem or I'm paying money, I won't try to fix it on my own. I see a doctor because those are the professionals.
They know.
So
Yeah. So you've mostly what helped was having someone there. Now, what were the, like for you, what challenges did you have when training, trying to improve your health, your fitness? What challenges did you experience?
I think a lot of the challenges are the same that still exist, but they are not so prominent anymore. Like maybe kind of impatience, wanting to get the results right away, because I'm not familiar with the fitness world, so I had this kind of course we all have our social media, so you see all these people who are really like muscled and they're really fit, and I had this kind of really stereotypical thinking, okay, that's the way a body looks, and that body is achieved in 1 year or something, without realizing it's like life journey, and it requires a lot of sacrifices, and it's not always done in a healthy way. So I had to take this red pill, like in the Matrix movie. You have to take the red pill so you really see the reality the way it is. And I was lucky that my coach really gave me the red pill in the beginning. And I remember that I was in a way disappointed and maybe a bit angry, not to him but to me, that I was so naive that I thought
you thought it was that easy.
Yeah, but once I took the red pill, after that I was able to concentrate on my own journey. I didn't have any kind of disillusioned ideas, or not as much as I did before.
So a big part of it, what I think this is the same thing that ruins a lot of people's journey, is that, well, they don't really see it as a journey. They kind of just think that they're going to go into the gym, they'll buy this big booty program, and they'll just in 8 weeks, like it says, in 8 weeks I'll have a jacked ass,
really?
and people need to understand that you need to manage your expectations. If what you want is like up here, and you're only seeing yourself get to here with all the effort that you're putting into, that distance can break people and break their motivation.
Exactly, and also like that's very important that if you only concentrate on the physical appearance, for most people it's not sustainable. Of course there are people like bodybuilding, fitness.
That's the goal.
That's the goal, to have a certain shaped body, a certain body fat percentage, but for most people they don't realize how big of a commitment and also how many sacrifices they have to make, and it's not sustainable for a lot of working people with children and families. So it's really important that you don't only focus on the physical appearance.
There's more meaningful things.
There's more meaning. Of course, physical appearance to me is quite important, but that's not the only thing.
And I think people shouldn't. What I find over here with Finnish culture, people are a lot more modest. They're almost embarrassed to admit that there's a physical aspect to it. Like, you got people who, they will tell you straight away, I want to look good, right? And that's great. I think looking good and feeling that you do look good is important for self-esteem. We can agree that's important, but some people are almost afraid to admit that they want to look good. Where do you think that comes from?
I don't know, maybe that's the modest Finnish culture, and also we are not like, our weather is such that we don't spend a lot of time in our swimming trunks, or like,
like back home.
Yeah, so we are covered well a lot of times, so I think that's one thing, and there's a modesty, and that's really important. That what does it mean to look good? That's also like, and that's that. When you ask about my challenges, that has also been one of my challenges. Like, what does it mean to look good?
Yeah, is it really what you see?
And when am I going to be happy, for example, with the progress that I make in the gym? Because that's a slippery road. Because a lot of times people, they tell that they never really happy. They achieve certain goal, certain step. But still they find, okay, my physical appearance is not good. And this social media and the whole society in a way kind of encourages this kind of. So it's really important that everybody really thinks, and the way they look, that they still find true acceptance of their body. In a way you can't succeed if you're never happy. No.
Like you're not gonna ever get a reward out of it.
No.
So
exactly.
you need to set low enough expectations and kind of maybe little milestones, perhaps along the way, that actually something to celebrate about, so something to be happy about.
Exactly.
Because if you're never happy with how you look, is that going to keep you going?
No.
How long are you going to try for? If you constantly feel unhappy, there needs to be something to celebrate.
And like I said earlier, that if you only base our results and goals on the appearance, it rarely really works on a long-term basis, because then our body functions in many ways. Seeing those rewards like I've seen on a daily basis, like bending over to pick something from the floor. It doesn't take a lot of effort anymore. It's very easy. It's very kind of fluent movement. But before, 2 years ago, it was like a lot of grunting and back pain. Even like putting on my socks was like, in a way, I had sweat. But now it's like completely different. So I think those are the really important.
Yeah. So
steps.
not just focusing on the outside.
No.
How you feel internally.
And also what your body can do.
Yeah.
Your body will get stronger. It will be more kind of fluent and more kind of flexible. And if you have children or grandchildren, you can pick them up and you can play with them. And when you get older, it's very important to have like good muscles in our thighs and in our
more energy.
So we can sit up, we can stand up. So it's like a lot of more energy.
Yeah, more quality of life. And so there's, of course, there's a bunch of great physical things, not just your appearance, but also how you live your life. You can focus on. What mental things have you noticed have changed?
Well, for example, for me, I've noticed that I've become more patient in the gym, because I think that's the only area where I really have to, where I can really show my vulnerable side, because some movements, some exercises, I've never done them before, so I'm really like, I don't know what to do, and that's a really vulnerable position to be like, really show that I can't do it, my body doesn't know how to do it, my mind doesn't know how to do it. So those moments, I think for anybody they can be fragile, but especially for me, they've been really kind of like, if I wouldn't have this coach, or you as a coach, they might have been really moments where I would have been given up.
Too overwhelming.
Too much new information, my body can't do it, I'm feeling helpless, I don't know what to do, even if my coach is telling me what to do, but my system doesn't know how to do it. Those are really, but now I do it almost every week. I get new exercises,
in a way.
and I know that I can do it.
Yeah.
And I can practice it. I might not have that skill this week, but in 4 weeks I can do it. Like today I did my first 2 chin-ups. Yeah. And I've never done it before. For somebody else it might be like nothing, but for me...
Oh, for a lot of people that's a very...
I'm a tall guy, I'm almost 100 kilos, so I did 2 chin-ups without even realizing it. So that's kind of like... Those are the moments that are really rewarding.
Yeah, you're finding these things to celebrate. And what I liked what you said was, I think a lot of people need this. It's like learning how to learn, or like learning how to be vulnerable, learning how to make mistakes.
Exactly.
Like you've really picked that up by going to the gym and being vulnerable. It's kind of made you, would you say, like maybe more brave?
More brave, more resilient.
Yeah.
I'm able to push my mind and body to the kind of this good place of discomfort, because that also what I've noticed and realized in the training, that it's a lot to do with your mental state. That if you believe that you can't do it, or if you give up too soon, which probably a lot of people might do if they're on their own, but if you have somebody to say, you can do it, kind of push it, you can do it. So it's like, you can really challenge yourself, and I've learned a lot more about my resilience. Yeah. That I'm much stronger mentally and physically than I thought.
Yeah, so many people don't, like I see this all the time, they don't think they can do the thing, like you put the weight on and they look at you like, are you crazy? They go like, are you insane? Like, how do you think I can do that? And then off you go, do it. And then you do it, and then you realize like, what the hell, I didn't, like for quite a few of my clients, they get really excited. Like they didn't know they could do that. They didn't even realize that thing was there in their mind, that they're actually stronger than they think they are.
And also this feeling of kind of accomplishment and this, I achieved it, I did it. Yeah. So it really resonates to all areas of my life. Yeah. For example, if I have well, every time I go to gym I have a good feeling, but some days I really like today I did it. So I feel more confident, more like
sense of achievement.
Sense of achievement, and it translates to other areas of my life. So it's not only like gym or exercising and then therapy room.
Yeah.
They are all interconnected.
Yeah, so you feel like you just witnessed yourself overcoming one challenge.
Exactly.
The next challenge that you face later on in life, you can think back to the time you did something hard. It carries over, not just to the gym, not just to fitness, but you take on other challenges.
Exactly,
as well.
exactly. And that's, I really would hope that everybody would understand and get experience of this.
So how would you, one last thing, you got people listening and they want to get started, what would you suggest? One last thing.
I think what I would have wanted to hear, and I did hear, that start with something. Don't try to be a bodybuilder or kind of like a super active person at once. Start with something. Go for a walk. Buy a gym membership. Well, that doesn't mean a lot nowadays because those cheap. They don't commit to anything. But
it's more like take action.
Take action.
Yeah.
Go to the gym. Go swimming. Go walking. Start with something small.
Yeah.
And then, in a way, this when I say this, I have to be very kind of gentle, and when a person says it to themselves or the other person, you have to be very careful how to say it. But in a way, stop making excuses. Because a lot of times people, like I did also, that I made excuses. I don't have time. I don't have money. I don't have energy.
Understand when you're making excuses.
Yeah, and understand.
Notice.
Yeah, when you actually, when there are real reasons behind it. Because those are also like, you don't have energy or you are...
There can be, yeah.
So then you shouldn't be you shouldn't start training like intensely, like when you have like small children at home or you're really overworked. But start with something small. But a lot of times, at least for me, it was like making excuses.
Yeah.
I don't have time, I can't do it, there's no point. I already have 30 plus kilos, it's no point, I won't lose them ever. So like in a way giving up. So there are so many excuses that we can kind of make ourselves.
There's never going to be a right time.
And that's one thing. There's never going to be this kind of aha moment. There's kind of like in the movies they have this moment of realism, like this
the music plays.
Music plays and the lights start like, whoa, this is it. But in real life there are hardly ever those moments. So start doing it. Yeah. And then you will have those moments. But
you're always going to be scared.
Exactly.
The right moment won't show up.
Yeah.
You're always going to have excuses going through your mind. You just need to understand that like everyone's got excuses. Do you pay attention to it or do you take action?
A lot of times when we are fearful of something, of course fear is very important message many times. Like when we are afraid of something, we really need to scan, like, are there real dangers in our life? But very often fear is something that we shouldn't listen too much. We might be afraid or anxious like I did when I started coaching, but still go there. Yeah. Don't let your fear take over. Don't let fear or anxiety rule your life. You can still do it.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Antti.
Thank you.
Amazing.
Thank you.